In the not-so-distant future, a shadow fell upon the world as an invisible menace began to spread with frightening speed. It started innocently enough, dismissed by many as just another flu season, but this was no ordinary virus. It was a harbinger of doom, an apocalypse in the making.
As the days passed, hospitals overflowed and panic swept through the population. The symptoms were unlike anything seen before. The infected exhibited a fever that burned like wildfire, their eyes turning a sickly shade of yellow. Delirium set in, followed by a sudden violent demise. Then came the unimaginable. Reports surfaced of the dead rising from their slumber, fueled by an insatiable hunger for the living. These reanimated corpses, once human, now roamed the streets with vacant eyes and a grotesque thirst for flesh. The world had plunged into a nightmare where death was no escape. Governments crumbled under the weight of the chaos, and societies descended into anarchy. Survivors formed desperate alliances, scavenging for resources while trying to evade the relentless undead horde. Safe havens turned into battlegrounds, and humanity found itself on the brink of extinction. In the hushed glow of a flickering fire, I sit among the remnants of what once was. The world outside is a desolate landscape, an unending testament to the collapse of civilization. Today we find ourselves here, alive, and the concept of survival has been reshaped by the very monsters we once feared. Our own kind turned into the undead. Gazing into the flames, I can't help but reflect on the times when skyscrapers kissed the sky and city streets pulsed with life. Now, those streets are silent, except for the distant moans of the wandering dead. We've become a society of survivors, each carving out our existence amidst the rubble, making our own rules to stay alive in a world that no longer abides by any. The rules? Simple, yet unforgiving. Trust no one completely, for loyalties are as fragile as the structures that used to define our cities. Move silently, for noise is a siren call to those who hunger for the living. And above all, adapt or perish, for the old norms are as dead as the world we once knew. I remember the day it all unraveled. The virus swept through our cities like wildfire, turning loved ones into grotesque caricatures of themselves. Governments crumbled and chaos ensued. The word normal lost all meaning as the dead rose and civilization crumbled like a house of cards. In the early days, we clung to the hope that help would arrive, that order could be restored. But as the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, it became clear we were on our own. The military, once a symbol of protection, had either fallen or withdrawn, leaving us to fend for ourselves. So here we are, survivors in a world overrun by the dead. We scavenge for supplies, cautiously navigating the skeletal remains of cities. Every encounter with the undead is a dance with death, a reminder of what we've become. We make our own rules, defining morality in a world where the line between right and wrong has blurred into shades of survival. In the midst of this bleak existence, pockets of humanity endure. We form alliances, sometimes tenuous but necessary for survival. Yet the fear persists. Who among us will be the next to succumb to the virus? In the end, we are all ticking time bombs, waiting for the inevitable. As I sit here by the fire, surrounded by those who have become my makeshift family, I can't help but wonder what's left of the world beyond the flickering shadows. The rules may have changed, but the will to live persists, and in the face of this macabre new reality, we cling to that glimmer of humanity that refuses to be extinguished, no matter how faint it may seem.